Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live Q&A. I have Sarah Pearson here from the Inky Hand and the Inky Box, and we are super excited to talk to you guys today. So if you're tuning in and you're watching this because you're a lefty, let us know in the comments. But even if you're not a lefty, this conversation is going to be tips for lefties, but the beginning part is going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Accurate for everybody? What's the word?
Applicable?
Relevant.
Relevant, that works. I went for the biggest word I could think of.
Yeah, that also works. But yeah, it's going to be relevant for everybody, and everybody can get a chance to win the September box, the September Inky Box, which we're going to talk about in a second. So welcome, Sarah.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So for anybody who doesn't know you, can you just give us a little rundown of who you are, what you do, that kind of stuff?
Yep, I'm Sarah Pearson. I am at the Inky Hand on Instagram, and I do mostly like brush lettering and calligraphy, but I'm trying to foray into like the hand-drawn letters and stuff now. And I also run the Inky Box, which is a subscription box for, it's mostly brush lettering, but I try and throw in a lot of watercolor and stuff like that too to experiment with.
So for people who don't know what a subscription box is, can you just explain a little more about how that works?
Yeah, I find that a lot. That people are like, "What are you talking about?"
It's a new concept.
It is, well, sort of. But I think the one that people are most familiar with is like Birchbox, or they have like the oh gosh, what am I thinking?
FabFitFun.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Those are the biggest ones. But basically, every month you subscribe like a magazine or whatever. But every month you get a box of, in my case, it's lettering supplies and goodies and stuff like that. And there's different terms you can subscribe for. You can do it month to month. You can quit whenever. You can skip months even if you like don't have the funds one certain month. So it's very flexible and it's really fun.
And so yours specifically, you have different artists every month, right?
I do. Oh gosh, I didn't grab your
phrasing
card.
that like
We talked about it.
I'm phrasing that like a question, but I know the answer. And I know the answer because I'm the featured one for September.
Yes, you are, and I totally forgot to grab that card. I'm going to be very unprofessional and walk away for a second because I do want to show you. Hold on one second.
Okay. Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know what the Inky Box is, it's the subscription box, and Sarah has a different artist in it every month. So this is perfect timing because she actually asked me to be the featured artist for the month of September. So I designed a card that's going to be in the box, and that's what she's going to grab. So she's actually going to run a giveaway for one of the boxes this month. And so if you're watching
over-prepare, and I knew I was going to forget something, and that was the thing that I forgot. Okay.
So Sarah, I'm just
sorry.
I'm just explaining how people can enter the giveaway. So if
perfect.
If you're watching this right now and you want to win a copy, which of course you would want to win one of these boxes, just take a screenshot of you watching this right now, or take a picture of your screen, depending what your device is, and put it on Instagram and tag both of us. And that's it. That's an entry into the giveaway, and Sarah will give away one of the September boxes.
Which includes Becca's card, which I now have in my hand. So every month I get two artists.
We just keep interrupting each other.
This is what happens when I talk on the phone too. I'm just all over the place.
Do you have the whole box there, or just do you not show people what's in it beforehand?
I haven't revealed it because nobody's gotten it yet. It went out the first, so it's still a surprise to everybody. I don't want to ruin that, but the cards are not that big of a surprise.
Okay.
So this is Becca's, and it's really cute. I was so excited when I saw it. Is it close enough?
It made me so excited for the fall. When I
know. So it's got all kinds of cool stuff on it. I actually was the other artist and used this as sort of like a thank you card, or I don't know, you can use it for anything, someone that you love. So every month you get two of those, and then they also include coupons for their shops and stuff. I know Becca is giving, was it 40% off? Her drills and all of that. So it's a huge discount. It's awesome. It's fun. I try to make it worth more than you pay for it every month. In fact, I do make it worth more than you pay for it every month. Oh, and there's also a mini version. If you don't want all like the cards and the like frou-frou stuff, then you can just get this, like, usually it's about half of the supplies that you would get in the full-size box for $15. So there's also an option if you just want the pens.
There's an option if you don't want my card, is what you're saying.
The thing is, people will start with the full size box and they're like, I have 25 cards and like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to give them all away. And then they'll go down to like the mini one. So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
So you just showed your card and it made me curious, a little bit more about like your backstory and how you started lettering and stuff. So moving away from the Inky Box stuff now, like you
Yeah. Yeah.
personally as a lettering artist, how did you get started and kind of what are you doing with it now? Or is it mostly like, is your business mostly focused around the Inky Box?
It's a lot focused around the Inky Box, but I don't want to ever neglect like my actual account because that's the big account and that's kind of where the traffic is driven from. So I still try and keep up with that as much as possible. I don't post every day like some people, but I started, gosh, it's probably been over 2.5 years now when I sort of went down the Instagram rabbit hole of watching videos. I was posting.
Uh-oh, we lost Sarah. Oh, we've been having technical issues, you guys, today with this video system, so she should be back on any second, but it keeps on cutting us out. She couldn't see me on video for a while. So again, I can see a bunch of you commenting here, but if you're a lefty, I want you to comment specifically and tell us what your struggles are being a lefty, and I'm sure Sarah will be able to answer them when she gets into her live lesson in a minute. And for those of you who aren't lefties, someone's commenting, oh no, oh no. Yeah, hopefully her internet didn't die or something. Oh man. I can tell some jokes. Anybody want some dad jokes? You guys, what is Whitney Houston's favorite kind of coordination? Hand-eye. And Sarah's back. Nope. No, she's not. Oh, there we go.
It's doing the thing where it's just me on the screen, but I think we can deal with that if I can stay in. So
okay, yeah, I can see you, I can hear you. I just told a joke. We're all good.
Oh, I missed the joke.
What's Whitney Houston's favorite kind of coordination?
I don't know.
Hand-eye.
Hand-eye.
You get it?
Do you know Dolly Parton actually wrote that song?
Well, the joke doesn't work as well.
Okay. All right. Anyway, I don't even remember what I was talking about.
You were telling us how long you've been lettering for. So you said about 2.5 years. Yeah.
Yes, and it started with like an Instagram rabbit hole that I know we've all been down of watching lettering videos. And I was thinking about it the other day, and it was shout out to Kylie in Kentucky and Random Olive. I think theirs were the accounts that I followed first, and I was like, I want to do that. It's so awesome. So I ordered supplies on Amazon, and because I'm a lefty, which we'll get into later, I frayed the crap out of the first brush pens I had, and sort of started learning to adapt and finding lefty letterers, even though they were few and far between, and just kept practicing and practicing. Eventually, I put out practice sheets, and then eventually started the Inky Box.
Nice, cool. Okay, so while you were away, I asked people to comment below if they were having any specific struggles being a lefty, and we got someone asking about being an underwriter versus an overwriter, and whether they should be using a regular pointed pen or an oblique. But are we talking about nibs here, or are we just talking about brush pens?
I was talking about brush pens in what I had ready to go, but I can talk about nibs too. I'm not a master of nibs by any chance or by any stretch of the imagination, but I started with a straight pen, and you have to be an underwriter. Even if you're not, you have to sort of figure that out and practice that. And I think that's why I haven't given it a proper go. But the straight versus oblique is just a matter of preference. Everyone told me that I shouldn't use oblique as a lefty, but then when I actually did, it was easier for me. So try both to be sure. But yeah, that is one. Brush lettering is one thing, but nib and ink is so much harder for lefties. It's really, really cool when you see someone that's good at it.
Yeah, I teach both courses in person, and I always see the lefties struggle way more with the point and
hard. Yeah.
And most of them, like as soon as they come in and we do a little bit of work in pencil first, and I see their hand is an overwriter, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's relearning how to position your hand, right? So
It is, and it's, I mean, 90, I don't know if it's 99%, but most lefties that I've ever seen in my life are at least like some version of overrides. If not completely hooked, at least like definitely
Sideways,
not
sort of.
holding it like, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Cool. Well, I know you're going to talk about supplies, so maybe we'll just jump right into that, and
Yeah.
I can take my face off the screen here, so there's more emphasis on you
Okay.
and your tips, because I don't have that much to add about being a lefty.
Right. I'm going to switch over to my other tripod, so it might be awkward for a second here.
Okay. So you'll be able
You
to
can
hear me,
see.
but you won't be able to see me.
Okay. Look who's keeping me company. Hi,
Oh.
Chandler. Okay. Let me see if I can do this without throwing my phone off of the tripod. Does that look good?
Yep.
Okay. I was trying to use natural light, but it's like cloudy, so the sun is coming and going. Okay, so number one, we are going to talk about supplies and what is good to use and what is not so good to use, unfortunately. Like I said, when I first started like watching the Instagram videos and stuff, I saw everybody using these Tombow dual brush pens. And I wanted them because everybody was using them. And then I started practicing with them and they frayed almost immediately. So unfortunately, this is not news that lefties want to hear, but these big juicy brush tips are going to fray on you. There aren't any that won't, and it's just a matter of using the smoothest paper you can so that it lasts as long as it can, being gentle with them, saving them for, you know, like the final product if you're making something for somebody else. But more along the line of what we want to be using is the feuds, like the smaller tip brush pens, and this is a zebra brush pen, and Tombow makes really good feuds. I keep wanting to say the whole word, but then not wanting to mess it up because I don't know how to pronounce it.
I had a Japanese friend explain to me it's Fudenosuke.
Okay, so I was not too far off when I was saying
At
it.
least I think that's what I got from the explanation, but I'm still
That makes
probably
sense.
saying it wrong.
Yeah. So these have the smaller brush tips. They will not fray on you as bad. And if you do want big, juicy lettering, the be all end all for lefties, and I say it all the time, is these Crayola markers. They're super cheap and they give you that same, you know, those same juicy strokes without, these are made for little kids, so they're durable as all get out. And didn't you had Colin and Natalie on, didn't you, on your thing?
Yeah, yeah, I did.
So yeah, watch her crayligraphy video. They'll show you how to do that. And these are my absolute favorite. Anyone can use these. I have it backwards. Um, so that's the tools. The biggest issue that lefties face, and I'm sure you've got questions about it already, is smudging. And the next two tips are going to talk about smudging because as a lefty, you are running your hand through everything that you write. Everybody knows that. Well, lefties know that. So the first tip is to play with your paper angle. If you're writing with it straight on like that, as you're writing, you know, your hand's going through it. But if you angle it a little bit as you're writing, you can see where it's rubbing is actually underneath your baseline mostly. So you'll have a much cleaner, easier time with that. Some people I've even seen like completely turn it sideways and hook and just mess around with it. And then also if you're using a pen that's really smudgy, even if you can't, and you're still running through it all the time, I've sort of trained myself with those bigger, juicier brush pens to hold my pen higher up instead of all the way down here like I normally do. If you hold it up here and you have your pen turned, see how far my hand is from my baseline. And it takes some getting used to, of course, because it's a whole different way of writing your pen. But if there's anything that lefties are, it is versatile and adaptable. So that's that.
That's a really good tip.
Uh,
I haven't ever heard anybody give that tip.
yeah, it's probably because you are changing the way you hold your pen, which sucks because we all want to do it the comfortable way. But you know, as lefties, like I said, we've had to change what we're doing the whole time. So again, instead of down here, just up a little bit, and then your hand is not running through what you're writing.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth tip is basically just experiment with both of those things, or I guess experimenting was my fifth tip. The fourth tip was adjusting those things, like in between. Like if you're writing a big long word, I can't think of a big long word. I'll write Chandler's name because he's sitting right here staring at me. So this is working, everything's okay, I'm kind of messing with it, but I feel myself about to run through what I'm gonna write. So I kind of turn this a little bit and kind of, you know, get around it, and it's just a matter of kind of figuring out how not to run through your ink.
Yeah, there's nothing saying that you can't adjust in the middle of a word.
Exactly. Like you're not, like if you watch my videos, I try not to do that desperately because no one wants to watch me going like this in my whole video. But if I'm just sort of, you know, practicing or whatever, then I definitely do kind of change it up. And sometimes you even like to cross, like if I have to cross a T or something, then I have to get real creative and just take my hand completely off the page to cross it. But you really will figure out what's good for you, which is number 5, is just experiment, experiment, experiment. And the tips that I told you might not work for you. They work for me, and I know they work for a lot of other lefties, but maybe you're like a major overwriter and you have to really adjust more, or you're an underwriter, one of the rare lefty underwriters, and you know, everything is a little bit different for you too. So hopefully those help a little bit. That's just kind of what I have discovered in my lettering journey.
So I noticed you used the Crayola marker for all of that. Would all of those tips be the same if you're using a brush pen, like in order to try not to fray them and that kind of stuff?
Definitely, yeah. This is just, like I said, my go-to. I can use this Tombow pen, but you're gonna see me fray it as I use it.
I mean,
and it really stinks.
They fray even for righties pretty easily, I find.
Yeah, they're pretty, these especially are pretty delicate, but I guess like if you're using these to keep them last a little bit longer, like I said, with crossing T's and stuff, the reason why they're fraying so much is because you're pushing along where righties are pulling along. So the more that you can do backwards, like crossing your T's backwards, or I can't really think of anything else, but the more pulling you can do instead of pushing, the longer that they'll last, basically.
Do you ever do backwards lettering? Like I've seen some lefties that will, and because calligraphy is broken down into the strokes, like technically you could do it backwards, but have you ever tried that?
I have not. I have a problem with my spacing anyway, and I feel like if I tried to go backwards, it would just be all over the place, but that's just me. It is really cool to see people do that.
Yeah.
I think, I'm trying to think of who I've seen do that. I don't know. But yeah, it's a whole different skill, I would imagine. But yeah, that would definitely help with a lot of the smudging. That would help. Well, I don't know, not with the pulling really. You would still be making the letters the same way, but definitely the smudging.
Yeah. And when we talked about oblique and straight holders a little while ago.
Yeah.
So with those, like say you, I know you said you don't have that much experience with pointed pens, but if
I have enough. I'm gonna come back on with my face since we're just talking, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
If you're a person who overwrites or hooks, however you want to say it, is it just a matter of adjusting your paper like really, really steep?
Yes, especially with the nib and ink stuff, the paper is going to be, the angle of the paper is really going to help you out. And also like you can get paper with like printed lines, or you can even, I think you can print them out online too. So like making sure that those lines are sort of lined up with how your hand is writing. Those are the tips that I've seen. Like I said, it's hard. It's really hard, and I'm not going to say it's not.
Yeah. Okay, so we have another question from somebody in the chat. I can't see their name, but they said, I'm an underwriter, and I slant the paper to the right, and I can't write in a straight line other than using a ruler anyway to get around it. How do you manage writing really straight?
An underwriter writing. So you're slanting your paper the same way that an overwriter would? I think I'm confused. So if you're slanting your paper to the right, maybe? Writing in a straight line is hard for anyone, I think, right? It's not just a lefty thing. I I use guidelines a lot. I don't really write all that straight anyway. But I
Yeah,
guess,
I never write without guidelines. Like if
yeah,
even if I'm writing on a blank page without guidelines, I'll put guidelines underneath it.
right. So
Like
I don't think,
I don't know that it's specific to lefties. I think everybody should be doing that anyway.
yeah, I don't think so too. And oopsie, I don't think that like being able to write without a guideline is like the be all end all of calligraphy either. I see stuff like Ink and Lisa. Have you watched her videos? And she does these like perfect straight lines. I don't know how she does it, and it does look amazing. But like if you're making a piece for somebody, they're never going to know that you had to use guidelines.
Well, and the other thing is like there are ways you can edit your video to make it look like you're not using guidelines. Or if you have a guideline underneath, you can bump the contrast up in your video and no one would ever know you're using a guideline. But there's nothing
Definitely,
wrong
yeah.
with using the guidelines, that's for sure.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
No, we're erasing guideline shame today. That's what we're doing.
Correct. And also, I've talked about this a lot of times, but I use a laser level.
Yeah, I've seen people
Um,
use those.
yeah, so I mean, it only
Because you do
shoots.
like the big signs and stuff with that, right?
Yeah, it only shoots a line, like one line, so you don't have the baseline and the waistline, but at least it helps you
Mm-hmm.
write on the consistent straight line, which is great. Oh yeah, someone just
Yeah, I
said they
bet.
watched a video this morning with a laser level. Yeah, so that's what I use.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not seeing that many other questions about lefty lettering. That means you nailed all the tips.
Yay.
But for anybody who's watching too, in my free program in Show Me Your Drills, if you just go to showmeyourdrills.com and sign up, we also have a couple videos that are specific for lefties in there. So we had one by Young Hay of Logos Calligraphy. I'm sure you know who she is,
Oh,
Sarah.
yeah.
And we
Hmm.
had Taryn's Doodles. Do you remember Taryn?
She's the one I was trying to think of that writes backwards.
Yeah, she's done some
Yeah,
backwards
yeah,
stuff. Yeah. And then we
yeah.
had Lainey from Design by Lainey.
Oh,
So all
yeah.
three of them have done videos in the challenge too. So you guys will see those. But
It's
I think
definitely, it's not impossible. You just have to work a little harder, as we always have had to do as lefties.
so. That actually brings me to another question: is what other lefty letterers do you remember following, or do you still follow that kind of encouraged you when you were starting out?
By Dawn Nicole was a big one, and I still love her. I think Logos Calligraphy was one of them. She was one of the big ones. It's hard because if they don't do a lot of videos, you forget that they're left-handed because they're just
Yeah.
posting pretty calligraphy. Taryn's Doodles was definitely one of them. Um, I know there's more, and if I forgot you, I'm sorry. But
That's
yeah,
okay.
is
We
there?
I'll make a blog post of this afterwards as well, and we can put in as many as you can think of. So if you come up
Yeah.
with some after, just let me know.
And if
Um,
you search the hashtag lefty lettering, lefty calligraphy, then obviously you'll come up with most people use those hashtags.
that's true. I wouldn't even have known that as a righty. Yeah.
Hmm.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Sarah. That was awesome. I think it's going to really
Yeah.
help people out. Is there anything new and exciting coming up in your world that we should know about?
I don't think so. It's always the box every month. We've got our cycle going of kind of sending it out and then relaxing for a few days and then getting started on the next one. We didn't talk about the sale, did we?
No, no, do that.
We're doing a big Labor Day sale for the Inky Box. I hardly ever put it on discount, but Joy, the platform that I use, is running a huge sale, and I decided to join it. So it's 20% off your entire subscription term. So even if you sign up for the big expensive 12-month one, you're still getting 20% off. And the code is CJ Labor 20, and it's American Labor without a U. I think she's going to put it up for me, but that runs just through today. So get on it if you want to get the discount.
And is that just at theinkybox.com?
Yes, at
Okay.
theinkybox.com.
Okay, so
And you,
CJ Labor 20.
yeah,
And you said that's today only?
it's
Or
through
it
today. It
ends
was the
today.
last
Yeah,
2 days
okay.
too, but yeah, today's the
Okay,
last day. I think
cool.
it was like midnight Pacific time, I think is when it ended.
Cool. So yeah, so there's the sale, and then also if you're watching this and you haven't screenshotted it and saved it and put it on Instagram yet, do that, and you could win the box that has my card in it.
Yay!
But other than that, I think we've covered. Oh, we got one more question.
Okay.
I naturally hold my pen at the same angle as the slant. For brush pens, should I be angling the pen or staying in line with the slant?
It's hard to answer these without seeing what they're talking about. What was it? They hold their pen.
They naturally hold their pen at the same angle as the slant. So say you're trying to write on like a 55-degree angle like you would in copper plate. You're holding your
Oh, so
pen on
like
that same angle.
really hooked around,
Well,
right?
I think even the question might, so it also applies to righties, I think, if I'm getting this correctly. If you hold your pen on the same angle that you're trying to write on and you try and push really hard and get a thick line, you won't get one. You know
Right.
what I mean? So here,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah, yeah, yeah.
actually, my camera will go on my hands. I think I can, I've never
Yeah,
done
yeah.
this before on a live
Show
video.
me. Oh, wait, I can't see you though. I'm just looking at
Oh,
myself.
that's okay. That's okay. I think everybody else will be able to see.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay, I'm gonna put this on my hands and try and demonstrate. Sarah, you'll have to tune in next time or once this is off offline
Right.
and see what I was talking about. Oh, it's upside down. All
At
right.
least I'm still here. Knock on wood.
So if your guidelines are on like this sort of angle, that's your waistline, that's your baseline. I'm gonna hold my pen in my left hand and try and demonstrate this, which is going to be a disaster. But if you're holding your
I'm
pen,
missing it.
if you're holding your pen at the exact same angle of that guideline and you try and do a thick downstroke, it's only going to get so thick. But if you have your hand angled a little bit sideways and you try and do that thick downstroke, you can get more of the belly of the brush. And it's the same as righties. So if I'm holding my pen really underneath, I'm trying to make this, okay. If I'm holding my pen underneath and pulling down and trying to press hard, I can only get about that thick. But if I angle my hand to the side, I can get it much thicker. So hopefully that sort of makes sense. But I also have a YouTube video that explains that. So I'll link to that when I make the blog post of this. Oh, no, I'm upside down. There we go. Oh my God. I just
What
put the
happened?
camera only on you and not on me. This is a disaster. Oh my God. Okay.
So they're
Hang on.
watching me listen to you for 2 minutes?
Yeah. Okay. Let me do this again. Okay. Now you guys can see my hands, right? I should be watching the comments while I do this because I would have known that
They'll
nobody
let you
could see
know,
me.
yeah.
All right. Let me get my paper back here. Okay. So if this is your guidelines and they're on that slanted angle, and this is your waistline and your baseline. So if you want
finally
to,
picturing what they're talking about.
yeah. So I'm going to do this with my left hand first. And if you're holding your pen on this angle and you're trying to push hard on your downstroke, you're only going to get it so thick. But if you put your hand to the side a little bit and then get more of the belly of the brush, you can get a much thicker downstroke. So you don't necessarily want to have your hand perfectly in line with the way those guidelines are, unless you're using a pointed pen. A pointed pen would require that you do have your hand on that angle. And so that's a topic for another day. But it's the same thing as a righty. If you're holding your pen underneath and trying to get downstroke, it's only going to get that thick. If you put it to the side and pull down, you'll get a thicker downstroke. So I think that answers the question, but if not, whoever asked that question, if you could clarify what you were wondering about, we can answer that for you. And hopefully you guys actually saw that description.
Thanks for handling that for me, because I cannot picture what they were talking about.
What a disaster. This is going to be really funny for people watching later on YouTube who just like...
I know, when it's just me sitting here just waiting.
Anyway, yeah, so thanks again, Sarah, for being on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And again,